Hi, in this video I'm going to be talking about my skin cancer story, and also I'm going to be trying a new product that's got SPF 50 in. So I thought I'd combine the two together. So the product I've just bought is La Roche Posay, and it's a BB cream. It's a tinted BB cream. It's great for sensitive skins. I bought it from Feel Unique for £17, and I think they've recently just had a 10% discount, which I took advantage of, which is great. It's just one colour, so I didn't really know what the colour would be like on my skin. So I thought this is a well-known brand, really great for sensitive skins, and obviously, you know, high SPF. So I thought, you know, I'd give it a go. I do like a BB cream in the summer. In the summer, my makeup tends to be a little bit lighter. So I've actually got it on now. So my routine, oops, sorry, I've got fluff on my nose, I can just see it. There. So my routine is a serum, then a hyaluronic acid, then a moisturiser, and then I've put this BB cream on, which I'll show you, or show a video of me applying it after this. And then I top up with a little bit of foundation. I use a sponge to really press it into my skin, and then I just do the rest of my makeup then. I tend to, yeah, I like a lighter coverage. Obviously I got a lot of imperfections. If you've seen any of my test to pot foundation challenges, you'll see, you know, what my skin is like there and what I look for in a foundation. So I knew a BB cream wouldn't be, you know, a great coverage, you know, cream for my face, but I wanted something that had a really high SPF and something that I could wear underneath makeup if I wanted to. Or it'll look great on its own if, you know, during the really hot summer days that we get here in the UK, of course. Very rare. You never know, you never know. The weather's changing all the time. So I thought this would be a really good buy for me. Before I show you me applying it to my skin, I thought I would read a little bit about it on the Feel Unique website. So I got the information up on my iPad, so I'll just give you a little read about what it says. So it's UV protection from a patented photostable filtering system, Mexoplex, with La Roche Posay and Thelios BB Ultra Comfort Cream SPF 50+. Very water resistant, non-perfumed, rich but non-oily. The texture protects, moisturises and unifies the complexion in a single step. Universal micropigments melt into the skin, adapting to every skin tone. The result? Naturally finish and luminous complexion and sun protection. Very water resistant, no non-perfumed, no parabens, tested under dermatological supervision, non-comedogenic. Directions: apply La Roche Posay and Thelios BB Ultra Comfort Cream SPF 50+ just before exposure. Reapply frequently and generously to maintain protection, especially after swimming, perspiring or toweling. I'm just going to show you a little video of what I videoed beforehand of me applying it and how it feels. So now I'm going to use the BB cream. It is tinted, so, you know, I'm expecting it to be a bit of colour on my face, but I will be going over with really light covering of foundation just where I need it afterwards. So just pump it up here. Yep, there's the colour. So I'm just going to apply this with my fingers. Oh, it smells really nice. It smells really nice. When it's yep, it's definitely tinted. Yep, definitely a colour there. I've had a fake tan. You know when you just have a fake tan and you have to wait until you can wash it off a couple of hours later and it looks like you've got a dirty face. That's what it looks like. So yeah, it's very much like a suntan lotion. You know, it feels not too sticky, it feels quite nice actually. It's gone on really well. Yeah, it has given me a bit of a colour, which I knew, but you know, it's coming up to May and the fake tan will be coming out soon, so this will be really handy, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go for a tinted one. Oh, I think it's lovely. It feels really nice. It feels just like I've just put an extra layer of foundation. It feels like I've just put an extra layer of moisturiser on, and yeah, good. And the fact that I know it's SPF 50 is brilliant, because obviously that is the main reason I bought this product. So I'm just going to put the rest of my makeup on now. Right, so I've done the rest of my makeup, and yeah, it feels great. The colour, it's, you know, it blends into my skin really well. I could get away with it now without a tan really. With the rest of my makeup on, you can't really tell a difference between, you know, my face and my chest. I have got some bronzer and some blusher on my cheeks, and some, you know, some eyeshadows and everything, but I'd wear it on its own. Very rarely, I've got to admit, because it's not often you'll see me without makeup, but there are moments, you know, when it's really, really hot. But generally I do, you know, wear makeup all throughout the year. So I'd wear it on its own with a little bit of mascara and lip gloss, and I'd be quite happy. Oh, I'm filling in my non-eyebrows. But, or underneath makeup, like I have done today. So I'm really pleased with it, you know, it's really good, and the fact, you know, it's the fact that it's a factor 50 plus, which is a bonus. So yeah, so my skin cancer story. I was diagnosed with malignant melanoma when I was 24. Basically at the time, I didn't really know what it was. The first signs, I noticed about 18 months beforehand actually, that I had a dodgy looking mole, but you're talking, how long now? You're talking 17 years ago. So even though skin cancer was known, obviously, it wasn't in the media as much as it is, you know, now. But I did think that, yeah, it's something dodgy going on there. It basically, it was a little mole on my arm, and it had raised, and it had turned really dark black colour. It wasn't itchy at this point, but it did look a bit different than normal. So I noticed it when I was in hospital. Unfortunately, after I had my son, I had gallstones problems, I should say, and I ended up having to have my gallstones out and my gallbladder, and the operation went wrong. I was in hospital for about 2 months on and off, and wasn't very well at all. Well, it was during that time that I noticed, you know, I had a lot of time on my hands on the ward, so that's when I noticed the mole on my left arm. Again, over the following months, you know, I noticed it but didn't do anything about it, didn't tell anybody, you know, certainly didn't think of going to the doctor, which in hindsight is bloody stupid, really stupid. But then it came to the point, as I said, around like 18 months later, that it started to itch, and it looked like it was like ulcerating. It didn't burst or nothing like that, but it was really itchy, and I remember, you know, itching like crazy. And went to the doctors. He said he doesn't think it's skin cancer, but he'll remove the mole anyway. The mole was sent off to my local hospital. Tests were inconclusive, so then the mole went to Cardiff, which is like about 2 hours drive away from where I live. And then it took quite a while. It really took quite a while for the results to come, a couple of months maybe. Anyway, at this time, again, you know, I wasn't concerned. My GP said he doesn't think it's skin cancer. I was like, oh yeah, you know, I was 24, had a little baby. Well, he was a little toddler then at the time. I didn't really think about it until one day when my toddler wasn't very well. I took him to the doctors, and he was diagnosed with tonsillitis, and he was put on antibiotics and everything. But while I was in the surgery, I just happened to mention this. Have you heard any news about my results from, you know, the mole removal? And she goes, oh yes, haven't you had a letter? I said, no. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry to say, it's skin cancer. Oh, okay. She goes, yeah, you'll be receiving a letter soon, so that, you know, you'd have to go to a different hospital to see a dermatologist and talk about the next step. And that was it. And I even now, when I'm thinking about it, it's brought me back to, you know, the feeling of being shocked. You know, like, yeah, you've got skin cancer, and yeah, that's it. You'll expect a letter, and that was it. Yeah, it it was a heck of a shock. So I went home, and I just, because my little one was ill, you know, he took my focus off it and off my diagnosis. And yeah, I didn't really tell anybody. I couldn't tell my parents for 2 weeks. I'm the only child, and I just couldn't bear. Every time I went to tell them, ring them to tell them, I couldn't, I just broke down. I just couldn't tell them, you know, like the 24-year-old daughter has got skin cancer, you know, it's malignant melanoma, one of the nasty ones. And again, at that point, I didn't know how serious it was or anything. So it took me 2 weeks to build up the courage to tell them. And yeah, obviously they were devastated. Following on from that then, I had to have a biopsy, and they took like a 50 pence biopsy because they found out that their cells had grown around the skin, the mole, and it just wasn't contained in the mole. So that went off, and then, you know, months later, again, they found out that the cells had metastasized, which is, you know, spread. So they didn't know how much, so they decided that I had to have general anaesthetic and basically take away a big chunk of my arm. And yeah, it was thinking of the time, it's all quite a blur. It is completely blurred. You know, I know what happened, but as far as my feelings, I think I was just on, you know, autopilot. At that point, obviously, I knew it was serious. I never ever asked anything about it. I never asked the size of it or anything like that, which I'm really curious to know now. I was told in one of my follow-up appointments, which I'll talk about in a little while, that if I'd waited another 6 months, it could have been lethal. Because obviously, if you remember, I said that I noticed it about 18 months beforehand, and if I'd taken it off then the cancer might have just been contained in that little mole. But as it was, it had grown and it had spread. Thankfully, it hadn't spread to my lymph nodes. It was very, very close to spreading to my lymph nodes, which would be under my armpits, which would be the closest one. So there was talk about cancer spreading to my lungs. I'm getting a bit emotional now. Sorry. It just brings back a lot of memories. But yeah, I was very lucky, but I was so close to being not so lucky. So I had the operation to remove a big area of skin on my arm. Thankfully, I put on a ton of weight when I was pregnant, and I hadn't lost it all like 2 years later. I had a lot of skin, excess skin. They were going to do a skin graft on my arm, but they ended up managing to pull the skin together. When I first saw it, it looked horrific. It looked like a shark taking a huge chunk out of my arm. It was really horrible, really, really horrible. It was horrible, really. And I remember being so self-conscious for a long, long time, because it literally looked like a shark had just taken a massive chunk out of my arm. There's a big, big dip where they've pulled the skin together. I'll show you in a minute what it's like now. The results came back that they had contained it. Obviously, I had to have a ton of blood tests. Every 2 months, I think it was, I had to have blood tests to make sure that it hadn't spread, to check my lymph nodes. I had to strip off and check all my body, to check for secondary tumours, to check for well, anything, just to make sure that I'm okay. And then I think after about 2 years they dropped it. Or no, after the first year. I think for the first year I was seeing every 2 months and being blood tested and checked and everything. Then the second year it was, say, every 3 months. I can't remember now. This is like 17 years ago, really. But then I know, you know, like you're tested for 5 years. Just you're checked up on, and then you're given the all clear after 5 years. Towards the end, I was, I think the last year I was seeing 6 months. 6 monthly. I think up until, yeah, maybe year 4 I was seeing every 3 or 4 months, something like that. And then at that point I was being seen in my local hospital, which is really handy. So in that time I did have a few more moles removed. I can't explain how horrific that the feeling of spotting a different mole, an abnormal mole, and going through that process again. Really, 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 the realisation of what could have happened to me, you know, it's awful. So yeah, so today it's 17 years later. Thankfully I've been cancer free since. I think, in all honesty, hormones were to kickstart it. I had preeclampsia with my first child. And then I had, when he was a month old, then I developed a lot of gallstone problems, and then when he was 6 months old, that's when I had the gallstone operation, and the operation went wrong. So I should have been in hospital for a day, in chemo surgery, but I wasn't. I ended up having major surgery. It was in intensive care. And yeah, basically, it's a long story, but you know your gallbladder, you've got ducts carrying bile, so the ducts were snapped off. Well, obviously they'd taken the gallbladder out of me, so they clamped. The ducts were clamped, but apparently a clamp came off inside me, so I had a burst abscess, and I had 1.5 litres bile floating around inside me. So my insides were getting poisoned, basically, so I was very, very unwell. And then the dodgy mole. Unfortunately, there's been another family member that has developed malignant melanoma, and also there's been 2 family members that have had the other forms of skin cancer, the type of skin cancers that grow on your skin. So I think there's a hereditary link there. I just think I was going to develop skin cancer at some point in my life, and I believe the triggers, because I was only 24, I believe the triggers were the medical interventions I underwent. You know, 3 big major things, you know, preeclampsia, gallstone op that went wrong, and you know, and then obviously the skin cancer. So yeah, so I do think there was a high chance of me getting skin cancer anyway. I do. But there was a trigger. Never ever use a sunbed, and I've always sort of covered up as well, because when I was a lot younger, you know, growing up, I was quite overweight, and I used to be embarrassed of my big fat arms, which is stupid, but I was. And again, you know, I'm a 70s child, so I don't think sun care was as, you know, was as important back then as what people, you know, or thought of as important as back then as what it is now. I do remember being sunburnt a few times, and again, you know, I've read that it can take 20 odd years for a cancer to develop, skin cancer to develop. So it might have stemmed from childhood, but what happened to me during the medical, you know, interventions, that just kick-started it, and that's what, you know, started it all off for me. There is a high risk of me having it again. Obviously, you know, it's 17 years now, and, you know, touch wood, with my chair, touch wood, I've been okay, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. So yeah, so I'm factor 50 all the time, basically. Sometimes I wear factor 30, because ironically some factor 50s don't work, and I can burn on them. I forgot to say, I'm really, really moly all over. Like, can't see, you can probably see the tops of my arms there. I've got a ton of moles, and unfortunately I've got the type of moles that are called dysplastic nevi, which means they're abnormal, they're atypical, they're all different shades. They can be mixed shades, they can be black and brown, they can be all different colours and shapes and everything like that. So, you know, the signs, the skin cancer signs, which I'll put a link in down below in the description. You know, it's like any moles that are irregular shape, that have different colours and all that. Well, I've got them naturally all over. So what I do now, I monitor. I take pictures of myself and I monitor, and I have a look. My husband looks for me as well, especially on my back, because I've had a few taken off my back that have sort of felt a bit dodgy, or they thought it was a bit dodgy, but thankfully have been okay. So yeah, so I monitor myself, cover myself in sunscreen. Again, vitamin D deficiency, which is another story. That happens a lot with me, so I'm constantly taking vitamin D sprays because I'm covering my skin all the time in lotion. But anyway, so on to what my scar looks like. You can see a slight dip there, especially when I go like that. You can see a dip in my skin. So, you know, it used to look a heck of a lot worse, and obviously if I lose weight it looks better, if I gain weight it looks worse. But at the moment, yeah, so you can really definitely see there's a little chunk, because obviously your skin is supposed to go straight across, it's cross, isn't it? You can just see a slight, dent there, but not much at all. It would have looked a lot worse if it was a skin graft, because it was quite a big area that they took away. So I am grateful that they did manage to pull my skin together, and I've been left with a scar. So I'll just show you what it looks like around the front, because it's so pale. There, I don't know if you can see, but the scar starts from there until about there. So it's quite long. And I've actually got some moles growing over it again, which is not a good sign, but I've had them checked out and it's okay. So yeah, it's quite a long scar and it's healed, you know, really well. It's not too lumpy. The only time you can really see it is, as I said, sideways. So that's it basically. Probably this video has gone on and on and on, but one of the main reasons I wanted to do this is to raise awareness. So yeah, so I hope you like my video. And if you do like it, please subscribe and please leave a like, because it shows that I'm doing okay. And I look forward to sharing more videos with you. Thank you, bye.